So in our challenge number 6, we need to develop two methods in CT people tracing controller class. The first method is get traces, where we'll get a person ID, and then we need to query the people tracing record for that particular person. So in a nutshell, we need to find all the people this particular person has met in last few days. Now the second method is check duplicates, and in this method we need to ensure that we are not inserting any duplicate records. So this check duplicates method will be somewhat similar to the check duplicates method in CT location tracing controller class, but this would be a bit more complex, and I'll show you why. So let's go back to our Salesforce org, and here let's create some dummy records. So now if we'll take a closer look at these records, we will notice that Cindy has met Srini, then Cindy has met Nick as well, Cindy has met John, and then Srini has met Cindy. So don't you think that record number 1 and record number 4 are duplicate? The reason is it doesn't matter if Cindy meets Srini or Srini meets Cindy, because it should be one single people tracing record. So that's why it will be a bit more complex, because we need to check it both ways. Like when we are trying to insert record number 4, we should know that there is already a record where Cindy meets Srini. So this record should be marked duplicate. So that's why this one would be a bit complex than the location tracing check duplicates method. But we'll use the same algorithm to solve this challenge as well. For now, first let's focus on the get traces method, where we can find the traces of one person. For example, if we supply the ID of Cindy, then we should get all the persons she met in last few days. Like we should get Srini, Nick and John. So let's go to our VS Code, and here let's go to our people tracing controller class. So first let's create a method. This method is going to return a list of people tracing records, and the name of this method is get traces, and this is going to accept a string variable which we'll call record ID, or we can also call it person ID. And now we need to query all the records, all the people tracing records where this person has met someone, right? So to build our SQL query, I'm going to go to the developer console. So here let's open our people tracing object so that we can get all the fields list. And here I'm going to query ID, the contact date, person 1 and person 2. And from this person 1 and person 2, we also need to get the token and health status of these person. So for that we can go to our object manager, and since this people tracing object is a junction object, we can get the relationship name for the person 1 and person 2 from here. And this is generally should be person underscore 1 double underscore C. So we'll simply replace this C to R. So let's go to developer console, and if you want to get the health status of person 1, then I'll use person 1 double underscore R dot health status double underscore C, and then let's also get the token of this person. So this will be like, instead of health status, it will be like token double underscore C. And now we need to do the same thing for person 2 as well, and I'm going to replace this person 1 R to person 2 R. And now let's click on execute, and this should give us the detail of all the people tracing records. Now our condition says that we need to find all the people tracing record for this particular record ID, and then we need to sort them by contact date. So I can easily sort it by using order by close, and I can use my contact date here to sort it in descending order. But if you want to find all the records for this particular record ID, then we need to find it for both person 1 and person 2, because Cindy could be stored under person1 field as well or person2 field as well. So in our where condition, what I'm going to do, where person1 double underscore c equals to the person ID that we'll get, or let's call it record ID, and the same thing for the person2 as well, but we'll join our condition with the or keyword because it could be either of these, and this time it could be person2 double underscore c. So let's copy this code and let's go to our VS Code and let's write our SQL query here. I'm going to format this query so that it's readable. So here our query says that we need to find some information from people tracing object where either the person1 could be this person ID, so we need to replace this record ID with person ID, or the person2 could be this person ID, right? So this way we'll be able to find out all the traces of this person. Now this was about our function number 1. Now in our function number 2 we need to implement the check duplicates. So let me quickly create that, and this will return a list of people tracing record, and the name of function is check duplicates, and this is going to accept a list of people tracing records, and we are going to call it new people traces, and we are going to use the similar approach. First we are going to identify all the unique person IDs, and based on that we are going to query the existing records, then we are going to construct a map, and then we are going to find the duplicates. So let's first store all the unique IDs, and here I'm going to use a for loop which will be of type people tracing. Let's call the local variable as trace, and we are going to iterate over new people traces, and here I'm going to declare a set of ID. Let's call it as person IDs, and it will be a set of ID. Now here we'll simply populate this person IDs, so I'll use the add method here, and in this add method we are going to add trace dot person1 double underscore c, and we are going to add person2 as well, because as I said, Cindy could be stored in person1 as well and person2 as well. So we are going to build a unique list of person IDs. Now the second step would be is like, let me create a list of duplicate record so that we can store our duplicates. It will be like a list of people tracing. Let's call it duplicates. And then I'm going to create a map, and this map will be of ID and set of ID. And here what I'm going to do, I'm going to store a person ID and then all the person or all the people he has met in this set of IDs. So map of ID and set of ID. So it will be very similar to what we have done in the check duplicates method in location tracing controller class. Let me remove this, and now since we have our person IDs, we can query the existing records. So let's create one more list and let's call it existing records, and let's build our SQL query here. Select ID person1 double underscore c, then person2 double underscore c, from, let me add this from to the next line, from people tracing object, And here let's write our where condition as well, where person1 double underscore c in person IDs or person2 double underscore c in person IDs. So this will give us our existing records. Now we need to iterate over these existing records to build our map of existing records. So let's use a for loop here, and this will be of type people tracing and then the existing records. But before that, as we have done in our location tracing control class as well, first check if existing records are not null. And yeah, in the end we are going to return our list of duplicates. Now all we need to do is we need to write our logic within this for loop. So in this for loop we simply need to populate our map of existing records. So first I'm going to check if the key already exists in my map. So let's call our map dot contains key. So if this map already has the person1, then I don't want to add this key again, rather I'll add an item to this set. But if it doesn't have this key, then I want to add this key here. So let's add map of existing records dot put trace dot person1 double underscore c and then a new empty set. And since now our map has the key for sure, because if it doesn't have the key we are adding it here. Now we can add the person ID in this set. So first I need to get this element by using the get method. So our get method will include trace dot person1 double underscore c. So this statement right here is going to give me this set or this blank set, and then we can use this add method to add our person2 in this set. So it will be like trace dot person2c. Now the same thing we need to repeat for person2 as well, because these person can be stored in the person1 field as well or person2 field as well, like the way we are storing Cindy here. So let's copy this code and paste it one more time, and this time let's comment here build map for person2. So wherever we are seeing person1, I'm going to replace it by person2, and wherever we have person2, I'm going to replace it by person1. So now we have our map ready. All we need to do is to iterate over these new people traces and check for the duplicates. So I'll use another for loop, and again I'm going to name it as trace, but this time I'm going to iterate over these new people traces, and for each of these new records we are going to find a duplicate in the existing records. So I'll use a if condition here, and my if condition says if my map of existing records contains this person1, so it will be like trace dot person1 double underscore c. So if my map has this key, then I'm going to check if this key also have person2 in the set, because if it has, then it's a duplicate, but if it's not, then it's not a duplicate. So let's use our end condition here. Now I'm going to use map of existing records. I'm going to get this element using the get method trace dot person double underscore c, and this would give me my set, and in this set I'm going to call the contains method, which will either return true or false based on the value that I'm going to supply here. So it will be person 2C. So what I'm doing here, first I'm going to identify if my map has this person 1 as a key, and then if it has, then I'll move to my second condition where I'll check if that particular item also has person 2 in the set, because if it has, then it's a duplicate. Now very similar to this condition, we need to repeat it again for person 2 as well. So I'll copy this and I'm going to join these two parent condition with an OR, because we need to find both type of matches. The only thing that I'll change here is I'll replace person 1 with person 2 and person 2 with person 1. So yeah, if any of these conditions satisfies, then we have a duplicate. So we need to add that to our duplicates record. So let's use add method and add our duplicate trace record here. So I think this should be it. This should be the complete logic to find the duplicate records in the people tracing object. Let me add a comment here. So now let's deploy the changes to our Salesforce org. Hopefully we should not get any error. Our code is deployed successfully. Now if we want to test our code, we need to go back to the developer console, and here we already have our people tracing record. So what I'll do, like I'll build 3 people tracing record. And here let's have person 1 _C and then person 2 _C. So first I'm going to give the ID of this person and then ID of this person as a duplicate. The second time I'll reverse these IDs. So in person 1 I'll give this ID, and in person 2 I'll give this ID, and in third time let's do a random match. I'll use this ID and maybe some other ID like this. So what I can see, we should have 2 duplicates here because both of these 2 records are duplicate. And let me change the list type as well, and instead of using city location tracing controller class, we need to use city people tracing controller class. So let's execute this code and we should be able to get 2 duplicates from our code, and it says that we have 3 duplicates. Maybe this time as well our result is correct. Maybe we have given the duplicate IDs in our third record as well. I'm going to search it here, and the person 2 says this ID is in row number 1, 2, 3 and 4 everywhere. So this will definitely not work. Let me go here and I'll try to match Cindy, or maybe like I'll try to match John with Srini. Yeah, there is no pair like that. So I'll get the ID of John, this one. I'll paste it here, and then I'll get the ID of Srini and I'll paste it here. So this definitely is not a duplicate record, and if still we get 3 records in return, then definitely something wrong with our logic. But if we get 2 in our result, then our logic is working fine. So yeah, our check duplicates is working fine, and I hope you enjoyed the complexity of this function that we have just written. If you are not able to understand it completely, please go over the code multiple times and try to implement this on your own as well. You can also go through different approaches as well. If you have some other logic in your mind, then you can try to implement that as well. Make sure that you test your code like this, and it's giving you the correct result. So that's all in this video. I'll see you all in the next video.